All right. Hello, everyone. Right. So, where we left off was you don't have it. You don't have it shown. And then try clicking on that. Okay. Guys, listen up. I'm having a little bit of a difficulty here. So, anyway, I'm not gonna show my camera today because I'm having a little issue, but nothing to worry about. So, anyway, last thing we left off was uh, Karate Kid. We left off at Karate Kid 2. So we know that Daniel fought for the Chris once, and I mean Lawrence, and that was because of the whole deal about him and Chris being rivals and stuff. So on the second one, Daniel finds himself going to Okinawa with Mr. Miyagi, and the thing is, Miyagi thought that it was a bad idea because of what he had told to Daniel about him leaving, which was that if there was, it's not a tournament fight, it's a real thing. But Daniel still wanted to go with Mr. Miyagi to Okinawa, so they went visit his um, dad who was sick. Um, Daniel meets Kumiko and they are looking up together as friends. And then there's the big scene with the hurricane in which Daniel helps a little girl and Sato hasn't um, chosen to help him, but chosen refused to help. And Sato tells him that he's dead to him ever since um, then there's a open dance that takes place at the castle where it should always be, and Sato tells Daniel under the condition that he joins them on the dance. So once again, Daniel finds himself fighting for his life, but this time it's not a 3 point deal. It's in real life. And he does defeats Chosen um, once again proving that he, that um, he wouldn't be defeated easily. Now, from here starts Karate Kid 3, and like you all know, it's just weird because Karate 3 starts from the ending of Karate Kid 1, where Daniel wins the tournament and everybody seems to be leaving. Some kids run into Daniel, ask him for his autograph here and there. And Chris is really mad because Cobra Kai was eliminated. So I mean, Johnny lost the fight. He came into second place, which was a disgrace for Sensei Chris, who was not just his his instructor, but he was his mentor. He was almost like a father to him. So yeah, it was kind of a big blow on Chris, definitely. Some time has passed by, and Daniel's mom received an offer to go to Fresno, and at that time, wait. Uh, that was unheretical to what the heck am I talking about? Anyway, um, he stays with Miyagi because his mom went back to take care of his uncle. So Daniel was confident into going back again and defend his title, but Miyagi didn't want him to do that because it was pointless. The main reason why Mr. Miyagi um, wanted Daniel to be on the tournament was just to actually um, have to prove a point to Sensei Chris. That was the whole idea. But he didn't want Daniel to fight because the whole thing between him and Lawrence was over, apparently. So there was no point in fighting. Due to this circumstance, uh, Chris finds himself not having people going to his class because after the fight, Cobra Kai's membership was removed, and that caused Chris to lose all his people as well. So he goes back to an old friend who he met in Vietnam, and you get just to let you know, this is also uh, I forget the word right now, but a spoiler. You'll see that in Cobra Kai at some point, where it shows where uh, Chris uh, and Terry Silver meet as where they were young and they both were in Vietnam. That's why when he goes and drops Chris at the airport because he told them, hey, you're going to Tahiti. Well, just forget about the whole thing for now. So he drops him and he as usual, that traditional saying is Cobra Kai never dies, never will. Chris didn't want to say that because he kind of he it looked like he was ashamed of what happened. So Terry tells him, "Hey, just say it, and that's it." It just they both say Cobra Kai never dies, never will. So he leaves, and Daniel and Mr. Miyagi were returning from Okinawa, and um, things went back to normal, except that once again Daniel falls in love, but but thanks to Terry Silver, things go sour for him. Not just because he wants him to defend his title, but because he had embarrassed John Chris and technically um uh give Cobra Kai a bad name. He wanted revenge. So that's the main reason why Chris asks him to do him a favor. Upon agreement, Terry goes, "Hey, I'll make him suffer first. I'll teach him, but while I'm doing this, I'll show him, teach him pain. He'll suffer so and so." And Chris agreed with that because you know he wanted a payback. So uh pretty what pretty much happens there is that because Daniel not having a choice about signing the petition, the enrollment to the paper with the about the tournament, that that led Miyagi to just um, not continue training Daniel in a sense. So he had to train up on himself, and he meets Terry Silver. He apologizes for Chris's attitude, and then he tells them that John Chris died. And it was because after the tournament where he lost his students and so forth. So Daniel, at first, Daniel starts training under Terry Silver, and things are nice and smooth, but things get bad because Silver, in a way, expects Daniel to get hurt, and he actually does. But another thing that happens is, um, upon the event where I forget the name of the girl that Daniel met at the pottery shop, but he invites her to a dance before she was leaving back um to her home because he apparently gave her ex-boyfriend a chance. So they went out for distance, and Terry's was right there looking at them, and he just had a little plan going on. So he talks to a random guy, pays pays him money just to get Daniel in trouble. So yes, Daniel did do what Terry Silver told him to do by hitting him on the nose, and Daniel felt really bad about hurting the guy because that shouldn't have had happened. But it was under Terry Silver's influence that he did that. And when he goes and talks to Silver, that he decided that he would stop training with him. Terry just revealed himself and told him, "Hey, you've been making, you're being doing things that you didn't want to do." So, with the help of Barnes, Terry gets Daniel out of the school. They've been expecting Daniel to go back with go back. So nobody knew, but Chris was there, and also Mike Barnes, who recently joined them, was there. They both were hiding, and when Daniel showed up, um, they as well come out, and they started getting on Daniel because of the whole thing. So they're making fun of Daniel basically, and once Barnes sends them out of that door, they can't help but be laughing at Daniel. And Harry sends Mike Barnes to get Daniel back, and all he sees is Mike flying through the door, and in comes Mr. Miyagi. Miyagi figured out that Daniel was going to be in trouble. So once again, the whole cast was in place, and um, it became a 2-3 because of, uh, in a way, Chris wanting his revenge. So it was a 2-3. It was Chris and Teresa Sober against Mr. Miyagi, and at the end of the battle, Miyagi wins, making fun of Silver, and Silver had threatened him that he was going to put more Cobra Kai schools all over the city, and that all people would learn was his fighting style, which is the Cobra Kai style, to John Chris's style, and that led to Miyagi picking up the training with Daniel, and again they trained together, and they were getting ready for that tournament once again, in which uh, Daniel didn't use the crane technique because uh, he he tried it, but it didn't work. So the whole point about him doing the family kata Mr. Miyagi showed on what had a purpose. And what happens is by the tournament, it confused the living heck out of people. I mean, it would confuse me too, because why would you do a kata while fighting? So, I mean, Mike Barnes had a lot of chances into getting Daniel, but he was just mesmerized because when they were fighting, Daniel started to do the kata, and that just confused Mike. I mean, man, I would be confused by what he was doing. I would be like, hey, okay, what is he doing? And Terry and Chris, they both told them to get him before Daniel would, but he couldn't react to it, and that's what led to his downfall. So once again, Daniel wins the tournament. Thought that it was over, and you would think that's the end of Karate Kid at this point, right? there was a movie and actually two movies. The first movie, in my opinion, it was the worst Karate Kid movie I ever saw because of the I don't know. It wasn't it was okay, but it wasn't um what everybody was expecting, and that was Karate Kid 4, and that was with a girl, Miyagi training a girl after Danielson. There was a point where Mr. Miyagi and Danielson split up. They parted ways, and nobody knew what happened to both of them. So until then, this girl meets Mr. Miyagi because of I think her mom hired him to take care of her while she was gone. But anyway, that's a different story. That's something that I did kind of forget. And then there was another movie uh, that, um, or the remake of Karate Kid with Jackie Chan and Will Smith's son. I don't know what to think about this. I mean, Karate Kid wasn't the same from then. And I'm not saying it was a bad movie. It's just there wasn't that feeling. Um, Basically, what happened was when they talked about making Karate Kid, it was going to be about Daniel's son, Daniel's Larussa's son, and the whole thing was basically going to be almost the same thing that happened to him. But no, there was a mention of it. Then it just they stopped saying um, anything else about Karate Kid. So God knows what happened from that length of time. Um, People was kind of expecting things. But if you're a karate fan, yeah, you would expect something to happen after that was mentioned. Um, Anyway, as years pass by, on I think 2000. Let's see, we're on 2023. Um, let, let me think. Yes, let me think. Couple years ago, I believe I forgot exactly which year. Um, Cobra Kai was announced, and nobody, nobody had the slightest idea that they would have Ralph Macchio and the guy that played Johnny together again. Um, I mean, it was a secret project by then, and it was first aired on Netflix. The first season was aired on Netflix, and yeah, there were some interviews with them, and yeah, that came out. The discussions came out that there were no idea that they would be working together again. I guess it was because of the fans and also the creator of Cobra Kai that was a fan wanted to see them again. or see what happened after Defense of Karate Kid 3. So Cobra Kai takes off after Karate Kid 3. Uh, Daniel finally got married. He had 3 kids. No, 2 kids. Sorry, my bad. He got 2 kids. Um, you would think he would marry one of the girls that he met and went out with, but no. Um, he became the owner of a dealership, which was called the Larusso something. Um, and he was also giving out bonsai trees in honor of Mr. Miyagi. Um, as for Johnny, man, I feel sorry for Johnny. He had it worse because he had a job, he messed up, and because of one of the people he did a job for argued that he called her a certain thing, had him fired. And then that's when he met um, a kid named Miguel who was being bullied, and he wanted to learn karate just to defend himself. Doesn't that sound familiar? Anyway, Miguel tries very hard to actually be trained by Johnny, who at this point didn't have a job because he got fired thanks to that one lady he didn't work for. And the only person that was helping him this time was, I believe, his stepfather, Sid, who they both didn't have any good relations. I mean, already when he was little, uh, Sid just began to hate everything he would. Um, he wanted to learn karate, and Sid throws in the fact that he what about the other classes he took, plus drums and that. So he gets on him, and you see that in one flashback on Cobra Kai. I forget what episode. Just sometimes you'll see some flashbacks, and most of the flashbacks are from Karate Kid 1. There's couple, except for the episode where they honored Pat Morita, which was the one where Miyagi died, and Daniel goes to the cemetery and pays his tribute to him. Um, you see flashbacks from Karate Kid 2, and yes, it was Turner Padmarita, and the fine and on the closing of that episode said in in honor to Pat Morita, or it was dedicated to Pat Morita. So yeah, that episode alone was sad, but it it recently happened again, but in a different light. So Anyway, um, now, because Johnny was so stubborn that he wanted to bring back Cobra Kai, Daniel had to do almost impossible to have not that happen, and sadly enough, it backfires. However, it bringing Cobra Kai also backfires on Johnny because if you see all the way to the last episode, you'll see that um, one one well-known character steps in from the shadows, and yes, that was John Chris. So that was a good way of ending the first season of Cobra Kai, and I think what they wanted to do, or the producer wanted to show, hey, um, I'm a fan of Karate Kid, and I just wanted to continue the story from where it left off. So in the beginning of season two, um, Johnny doesn't want to accept Chris's help because first of all, because of what happened when he was a kid. Second of all, because um, he knew Chris from the beginning, so he didn't want anyone to commit the same mistake that he had committed. That's why he didn't want to have Chris involved. But he feels sorry for Chris, gives him a chance, and then Chris backstabs him. So I mean, having Johnny out of the picture gave the upper hand to Chris to take over Cobra Kai, but that also backfires on Chris. One, because yeah, he got away with taking over, but that pushed Johnny to kind of form an alliance, and not entirely form an alliance with Daniel, not until later on when Terry Silver comes into the picture, but it was getting that way. I mean, Johnny and Daniel were not friends, but at least they were getting along with each other. And of course, uh, after the first incident, or I mean, yeah, the school incident where uh, Johnny's son almost kills Miguel. Uh, Johnny kind of have that because of the whole thing, because that shouldn't have had to happen, but it was because of one of their members. I forgot what her name was. If it wasn't because of her, then none of that none of that things none of that would have happened. And from that point, Daniel and Johnny stopped talking. Well, they were like they did something happened there where they were not talking to each other. But later on, Daniel goes to Okinawa, and this is funny. Uh, there's some stuff I'll be saying that leading to spoilers. So guys, again, you guys know what to do when it comes to that. But anyway, years had passed, and Daniel makes a special trip to Okinawa. And the thing is that everything had changed since. Okinawa didn't look like the village he went for the first time. Everything was modern. There was a saying about there was a mention about Sato, but not as much, except that it gave us a clue that at this time Sato died. And it's kind of funny because Daniel not just runs into Kumiko, but sorry guys, I just have that image on my head right now, and it's so hilarious because there's a scene again, and Daniel's sitting in a restaurant with Kumiko and chosen by Kumiko, and they look at each other, and they're not talking, they're just looking at each other like, okay, what's going on here? Until Daniel asks Kumiko why was it that chosen was there with them. Give me a second. And Kumiko tells them, hey, I organized this meeting between the two of you. So Daniel's like, okay, why is it that I have to talk to him? So yeah, in a way, Daniel was trying to find himself. That's why he went back to Okinawa. And while he was there, he had the chance to talk to Chosen. Amazingly enough, uh, becoming friends after the whole event that took place in Karate Kid 2. So they're talking, and he did mention something about Sato's death and several things that happened since then. And there was a particular scroll or thing that Daniel found that was one of Mr. Miyagi's techniques and one that he never taught him. And Chosen notices that, and Daniel, I think I can't remember exactly, but it does has chosen why was it that he didn't tell him that technique, and chosen told him, well, there was a reason why he didn't want to do that. So they go outside, and I think there was a brief training between the two of them. And it's kind of funny because just like on Karate Kid 2, Chosen pulls that same thing Daniel and Mr. Miyagi did. So funny chosen. I gotta admit, it was funny seeing chosen doing that. I mean, the whole thing where he tells Daniel, "This is it," and just like Miyagi, and, and Daniel was embarrassed. Of course, chosen was embarrassed too because Daniel pulled that thing after seeing Miyagi pulling it on Chris. So anyway, Daniel was like, he was embarrassed, and it's funny what Chosen said. He goes, "Yeah, I waited all this time to do this to you." So I mean, there was a little joke thrown there, but anyway, they are talking about the whole thing up to the point where Daniel had to go back because he he really had to focus on what he was going to do. So yeah, Daniel does form an alliance with Chosen and with Johnny, surprisingly enough. And it's weird working. It's weird seeing three enemies working together. I mean, literally, it's kind of weird when that happens. And you guys might know that. So yeah, that's when also Chris formed his alliance with Cobra, which wasn't a good idea. But the thing is, um, that Terry didn't want to do it. I mean, he realized that he wasted all his time torturing a kid. He even tells Johnny, he even tells Chris, "Hey, I spent a lot of time torturing a kid," and like he said, he tells him, "Hey, you should have let the sleeping dog sleep, but you went ahead and woke him up." And it looked like Terry didn't want to get involved. He just had enough of that nonsense. But uh, Chris just pushed him to do it. And one of the means was reminding him um, about Vietnam. So there, at some point, you do have a flashback where they both met. Chris was supposed to fight for his life, and also some of the guys that became POWs. And I actually what was going to happen was that Terry was going to fight his own superior, if I'm not mistaken. But Johnny takes his. No, sorry. Chris takes his place. Uh, so they fight in this pit, and Johnny wins. Chris. Sorry, guys. Um, hey, Big Hunter, see, hi. Nice having you. Um, Listen, Lindo, welcome to the show. Welcome, you guys. How are you guys doing, by the way? So yeah, as I was saying, um, Chris did change the terrorist's mind, and they became partners again. All right, guys. Um, it looks like again we ran out of time, so I'll do a part three, which would be the definite conclusion of this series, which is the beginning of Cobra Kai. So till then, guys, um, uh, sorry, I just got a little out of place here. But yeah, um, guys, I'm glad you were here, and if you have any questions, comments, concerns, ideas for challenges, which is one of the common things, you know what to do. So till then, guys, take care of yourselves, and until then, peace out.